Hello, welcome to another edition of News Desk. I am Amiesi Nyamiche Thompson. Coming up this hour, mixed reactions to the opposition New Patriotic Party's thank you tour. We've got details here on News Desk. Also coming up, Education Minister tasked UTAG not to relent in its fight against illegal mining despite a change in government. These plus some business updates on our desk. Stay for details. Now, first story, there have been mixed reactions to a thank you tour by the opposition New Patriotic Parties. Leadership of the party says this is to show appreciation to Ghanaians for their support while in power and also apologize for any mishaps during that era. Well, the tour has had its share of confrontations. Director of Communications for Dr. Bawumia in the 2024 election and Dr. Arthur Kennedy were on PM Express last night. Here are excerpts of the interaction.
This is not new when it comes to thank you tours in this country. So I just quickly entered Nana Akufo-Addo on thank you tour. And you see the stories. Is Akufo-Addo using thank you tour to relaunch his comeback? Akufo-Addo thank you tour is not for his campaign, NPP. Dr. Dofo, Mr. Kojo, so they all had issues when Mr. John Mahama went out there to do a thank you tour post 2016, post 2020. It is a normal feature. Usually because the candidate who ran the immediate past elections was the face of the ballot, you would have him being the poster person when it comes to the thank you tour. And you should expect that internal politicking would pop up. So these issues you raise, just go back, read on My Joy Online. You realize that in every thank you tour we've had, at least let's recollect from the year 2009, these controversies have been there. Usually you hear two accusations. You'd hear people, both internal and external, say that, oh, the flag bearer or the candidate is using the thank you tour as a subtle way to launch a comeback. You would hear people say that, no, why would he go out there, be the one saying...
Is Bawumia using it to launch his comeback?
Absolutely not. In the entire conversation since it started, you haven't heard him even say a single thing about his political future. What he is doing is to basically tell the party people that this is who we are. We've been in this situation before.
Last week when he went to the party's headquarters,
we found ourselves in this situation. There is a blueprint for which...
Last week when he was at the party's headquarters, when they launched this, he spent quite some time talking about his own suitability and dismissing criticism that part of the reason why he lost was because he's from the north and he's a Muslim. Some look at that to say that is him presenting himself as still the best option for the party, in spite of the criticism against him that he himself found need to address. Isn't that subtle campaigning, in fact, very blatant campaigning?
Like I'm saying, this won't be the first of such controversy around a thank you tour. It won't be just on Dr. Bawumia. It was for Nana Akufo-Addo, the same controversy. It was for His Excellency John Mahama, the same controversy. And today it is for Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. If you, Evans, run for president and you go for a thank you tour, it would be for you again. It's a normal feature. The fact of the matter is that Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia and the party people are sharing frank and open conversations about our party's future.
What about new candidates? Are we assuming there will be no new candidates? Where are those new candidates? So I'm just saying that regardless of how it is packaged, as you yourself pointed out, when he was at party headquarters, he spent a lot of time trying to defend himself about his suitability and all the reasons he's been listing for our defeat, trying to cast aspersions on former President Nana Akufo-Addo. It's because those of us who are insiders know that Nana has made it known to party insiders that he intends to support a different candidate. If he didn't do that, Dr. Bawumia wouldn't be saying the things he's saying.
No, you're making a point that I need clarity on. You're saying that party insiders say that Nana Akufo-Addo will be throwing his weight, becoming another candidate for 2028?
Yes.
Who this candidate?
Well, I will let Nana disclose that, but I can tell you confidently that that decision has been communicated to Dr. Baumia, and that is the reason why his criticism of Nana-Addo has risen sharp. And it is in effect unfortunate because I think whatever you think of Nana-Addo, Dr. Baumia owes him quite a bit, and he deserves better treatment from Dr. Baumia.
I mean,
By the way, if you had a moment, I'll tell you a story. In 2008, I recommended to Nana Akufo-Addo that in my view, as a campaign communicator and someone with a lot of experience watching campaigns around the world, distancing himself from the Akufo administration would benefit him. And even though he had left that administration almost a year before the election, he steadfastly refused to do that. He says, Kennedy, you be on principle to do that. I was a member of the cabinet, a very important member, and whatever our failures and successes, I am bound by them. I mean, he was disagreeing with me, but that was very honorable.
Well, former Energy Minister Boakye Agyarko has also released a statement on this particular thank you tour. Here are extracts of that statement. And it says, the ongoing thank you tour envisioned as a beacon of hope and a rallying point to reignite the spirit of our faithful and supporters is unfortunately veering off course. What was intended to restore our party's shine and reconnect us with the grassroots is instead unraveling into bouts of discord, blame shifting, and internal strife. This regrettable turn of events threatened to inflict serious collateral damage on the very fabric of our party. More worryingly, it is steadily eroding the goodwill and trust we have worked so hard to cultivate among the Ghanaian people. Goes on to say, in light of these unfortunate developments, I am earnestly calling on the leadership of our party to act swiftly and decisively. It is time to apply the brakes and reassess the direction of the thank you tour. We must pull back from what increasingly looks like an imminent collision course and chart a path that upholds the unity, dignity, and forward-looking spirit of our tradition. It says, carefully recalibrated approach, one that fosters genuine reconciliation, solidarity, and purposeful engagement is urgently needed. Let us seize this moment to renew our collective resolve and ensure that the mission of the thank you tour is accomplished in a manner worthy of our party's proud legacy. Well, interesting reactions there. Let's engage now political scientist Dr. Asah-Asante and former PRO of the Ministry of Education, Kwesi Kwarteng, also on what transpired at the tour. Let me start with Kwesi Kwarteng, then I'll come to you, Dr. Asah-Asante. Kwesi Kwarteng, you've been on the tour. What really is the mood? What is the energy you're getting on the tour?
Well, thank you very much and good morning to you and your viewers. Even at this moment, we are getting ready for another engagement at Sunyane. So far, I would say so good. It's been quite reconciliatory. Our message has been very clear. It's a major stage of unity, and it's also a message of gratitude to express appreciation to the good people of Ghana, especially our party folks who joined all of us during the 2024 December elections. I mean, obviously, it's apparent that the outcome that we were expecting as a party did not come into realization. But this tour is just to symbolize unity. I mean, to be fair, even though I happen to be in the Honorable Ken's team, to be fair, it was Dr. Baumia, the vice president, who went or who led the party into the election. So it is not misplaced at all if he's leading the tour. We have Honorable Kennedy Agyarko, who also was within the presidential primaries, also contested, also being part of the tour. Yesterday, Mr. Ansafwa, who also happens to be another candidate within the tour, during the presidential primaries has also joined the tour. So far, it's good.
Yeah, Mr. Kwate, I'd like to ask you, I mean, would really want to understand the objective of the tour. Is it really being achieved here? Because we've heard from the likes of some of your leading party members reacting negatively to this particular tour and saying things that the essence of going on that tour is not being achieved. Rather, it's unraveling things, the divisiveness that has erupted since the last election. What do you make of this?
I mean, these are opinions. They say opinions are gnosis, just like gnosis. If you look at the intent and the purpose of the tour, ordinarily, one would expect that a thank you tour will really be benchmarked on just expressing gratitude alone. But there are some who also believe that other persons and individuals, of course, you have even had the opportunity to even hear some of the remarks that are made by certain people or certain categories of people during the tour. And it appears they are more or less shifting blame, whitewashing themselves, or more or less exonerating themselves from responsibility. But I was of the opinion that this is not the platform to do that. This platform ordinarily should have been just focused on thanking the good people of our party, the good people of Ghana, and of course also preach the message of unity. I think by and large, we only can be hopeful and also remain focused to the main purpose of the tour. As to how people feel about whether or not the purpose of the tour is being achieved, well, they may not be entirely wrong, but I just want to leave it to the jury out there. At the end of the day, people have to take responsibility for their own actions or inactions, the comments that they make. And so I want to leave it to the jury out there. If they see the person A making this comment or such remarks, we'll be able to know whether, or we'll be able to mark whether or not his comments moves in tandem of the tour. But the overall purpose for me, even symbolically as a party, we are achieving it. At least it demonstrates unity. It demonstrates that we, regardless of how the storms are, we as a people are ready to come together and then move with one accord. Of course, when you give platforms to politicians, you may get excesses. People may want to whitewash themselves. People may want to improve themselves from blame, absolve themselves from blame. People may want to shift blame. But I mean, ultimately, I am of the view that the entire or the whole beauty of leadership rests in the fact that you lead the charge and take collective responsibility for our actions and inactions, whether we won or we lost. We need to step up, be bold, and take responsibility for that. It is only when we do that together and say that we are indeed united for the, for other goals that lies ahead.
Well, just before I go to Dr. Asah-Asante, I mean, I'm sure Dr. Bawumia would have heard some of these reactions from leading members of the party. Is he in any way reacting to this, saying something, or even changing course whilst on tour to at least, cool down tempers?
To be fair, let me say that I had the opportunity to be part of the tour from its inception. If you look at the first day, how he spoke and the backlash that came, that he's shifting blame, I mean, to be fair to him, the subsequent days, the tone of his speech was a bit more reconciliatory. If you recall, the subsequent days, he was talking about eulogizing Akufo-Addo and the fact that Akufo-Addo did well and his legacy will live on and whatever. I think that may, if you look at it objectively, people have argued that there is some form of departure from how he started from the first day. So I'm sure that all these criticisms coming from high-profile party members, including even the media, who are not necessarily party members, but the criticisms also coming from the media has also shaping his comments. I think he's taking a cue from it. But bottom line is that we as a party will remain united. We will overcome this. It's expected. When you lose an election in that manner, I mean, it's natural that some of these missteps will happen. But ultimately, the beauty of leadership is for us to take responsibility and then move forward in one accord.
But does this mean that it's also burying his real feelings of how things have gone in the party? He's not coming out to really express how he feels about how things have gone.
Well, it's not really about how you feel, but it's about so timing is also very crucial. And there was an opportunity for you to express how you feel. If it has to do with maybe how you believe or what you believe caused the defeat of the NPP, the Okoro report speaks to that. So I'm not sure a thank you tour should be the right platform to reiterate all these things. I mean, but I am of the view that platforms like this should really express gratitude, should be used to promote unity, should be used to rebuild the party so that we are able to reorganize, re-strategize, and come back stronger. But if you come in the presence of the media, reiterate and repeat. And of course, let me hasten to add that the Okoro report has not been public. And there are people in Kenscam who also believe that some of the concerns he raised as having caused our defeat may not necessarily be all. People also have the feeling that religion and even on grounds of tribe may also have influenced it. But at the end of the day, we cannot use this platform to discuss it. This is not the campaign season. I'm sure it's the more reason why people prefer that at least would have stick to the focus and purpose of this tour so that we don't deviate. And then maybe subsequently we can have at that time to discuss the Okoro report. But if this tour is not being used to rewrite the Okoro report, certainly you may get the backlash from people like Boache Jakwemko.
Right. Let me go now to Dr. Asah-Asante. Dr. Asah-Asante, do you see any form of cohesiveness or unity backing this thank you tour, especially from leading members of the NPP, or it is unraveling the deep-seated cracks that hasn't been healed?
My position has been clear from day one that I believe that this thank you tour is unnecessary because there are more pressing issues that the party must have to confront themselves with. Issue of reconciling the people, trying to deal with the problems that engulf the primaries that have led a number of people in pain and all that. You need to start there before you preach unity, because the house is in disarray, born out of those primaries that went on. So this is a time, spend energy here and then deal with that. Then out of that, you move into the next gear of preaching unity. How do you preach unity? You go around the country preaching unity when you have not sat down to deal with the problems that has brought the disunity. Then obviously you are scratching the face of the problem. So I think they have to look at that direction. From there, then you can launch onto the issue of looking at the report and dealing with it head on. So that's for starters. I believe that is what they should do. If right now they continue on this trajectory, I'm not surprised they are going to have a lot of attacks from within. Paragraph, Amakoba, and co. These are individuals, groups within the party. You need them at all times.
But how,
if there are problems, sit down.
Yeah, Doc, how then do you approach these people? Really, what Boache Jako has stated, very telling. And I'm wondering how Dr. Bawumia should approach them moving forward. And also, others are arguing that going to the grassroots is also really critical. Get to hear from the people firsthand how they feel, and then find a way forward to ensure that they are also part of the collective.
I know a party like NPP, which is a dominant political force, they have conflict resolution mechanism in place, except that it did not work to its fullest during or after the primaries. They should go back to the basis and then get the report from there, and then begin to put the people together and then address the issue. Remember, this is a family feud. So when they call for a meeting, that look, we acknowledge that there are problems, in the party. We want to sit down and address them. I'm sure all of them will come to the table and then they discuss them. The forum, they can take different forums and all that. But I can assure you that you are talking about NPP as a family. They will sit down when people have made genuine overtures to them that we want to what? Deal with the problems that linger within the party, problems that were born out of the primaries. We want to deal with that, and then we'll move forward. You will see how people will rally behind that exercise and then get the problem fixed.
Well, there's also the talk about, from Justin Kodia, General Secretary of the party, about generating some school for party members to school them of the history of the party to galvanize the base roots. Do you think this is going to help in any way?
Oh, it's a good call because you see, every political party, your duty or your aim is to win power and form the next government. So how do you do that? You do that with numbers, people. So you need to moving to do certain things that will attract the attention of the public in order to win souls. So telling their story, it is long overdue because there are lots in the political history of this country which NPP has, and that they have to make it abundantly clear to people, for people to know how far they've come. And all these things are sitting in textbooks, and we are teaching them in classrooms and all that. How many people have access to them? So if you make it a policy that you want to now articulate your views relative to what your achievement, what you've done, and all that, then the knowledge within the party gets deepened, and then people become attracted to your message. And that is the beginning of winning more souls for the party.
So, Dr. Asah-Asante, what should the Bawumia team do now at this material moment? Should they call off the thank you tour, go back to basis, and talk to the leading members of the party?
I believe they have to abort the whole program and then get to the drawing board, get to the basis, and get the basis right. Let them, set up a body that will look out all the conflicts that exist within the party. Try and deal with that. Once you deal with that, I tell you, you will be inundated with a lot of calls, people saying that, look, now we are done, let's hit the ground and then get our grassroots energized and all that. You will see people who on their own accord will move into the trenches, begin to do the work for the party. But once there are problems there, I'm afraid you will not get the energy. And those who are bold will come and confront the leadership head on, as we are seeing it's playing out now. So I believe that they have to take a critical look of this and then be measured in this regard. And listen. Because I listened to Dr. Bawumia when he said that part of the reason why they lost was arrogance of power. It's nothing but you are not prepared to listen to people. I want them to, whilst in opposition, right, they would not commit the same offense again by people looking at them as arrogant. No, they should listen. If listening is a problem, they should work at that. And I'm sure as a giant party like this, they are able to put their house in order.
Right.
They'll be able to galvanize the base.
Right. So let me go back to Kwesi Kwati. You're hearing Dr. Asah-Asante. He's telling you to abort this thank you tour, this material moment, get back to basics, at least start from the top, the leading members, get them together to rally support, then you can go back to the base. Can you get that communication to Dr. Bawumia?
Well, first of all, I don't think it entirely rests on Dr. Bawumia to make that decision. Such a decision obviously has to be made by the party leadership. And if you recall, the Honorable candidate Japan had made a comment which is similar of such nature, but of course he didn't say we should boycott. He was of the view that even when you want to thank people, it should have been the polling station executive, which is the base of the party. He was of the view that we should have started from there. But if you go and invite only constituency executives, which he, according to him, believes that, directly or indirectly, ultimately shares within the blame and responsibility of even this defeat, he believed that it was something that was misplaced. So at the end of the day, we all agree that it could have been better in terms of the arrangement, in terms of the organization. But the decision to call it off does not rest in myself, neither does it rest in even Dr. Bawumia or Kennedy Japan. Rather, it rests on the leadership of the party. And I'm sure they might have done their own SWOT analysis and come to the conclusion that it is good. Whichever way, if there are any challenges, I am of the view that we should be more concentrated in addressing those challenges rather than calling off the tour entirely.
But what has been the sense? I mean, what has been the reaction from the people on the ground? Are they ready receiving Dr. Bawumia? What has been the, the comments? Were they, looking up to him, coming to them at this time, or they weren't really expecting him?
Well, I don't think it's really about one person. It has more to do with receiving the entire party machinery, not necessarily Dr. Bawumia.
I get that. What I want to understand is the people. Yes. The people, what are they saying? When Bawumia comes to them, are they happy to see him? What has been their reactions?
So I would say they are happy to receive the entire party, not necessarily one person. I know where you are getting to, but let me stick there. They are happy to see the entire party, the national executives, Dr. Bawumia, Honorable Kennedy Japan, and everybody. I mean, it's a party affair. It's a party meeting. We are meeting to express gratitude. We are meeting to reconcile. And for me, that is the most important.
And I want to know from you, are the people open to reconciliation from your visits, from your stops so far?
I mean, certainly. We are one family. Of course, we may have our own ups and downs. Is it a statement
of fact or is a statement of anticipation? That's what I want to be clear about.
Can you come again?
I'm asking if certainly is a statement of anticipation or a statement of fact that indeed they've been open to us and are ready to reconcile.
We are ready to come together as a party and work for ahead of 2028 as a party. We will remain united. So the assurance is that it's a phase. But we will go through it and we will pass through and win as a party.
I'm not getting that sense that the people are opening up to you, the party executives. Is it the case?
Well, like I indicated, it's a thank you tour. But of course, as part of the thank you in expressing gratitude to them, you also take the opportunity to unite the party. And central to unity is also reconciliation. At the end of the day, like I indicated, when you lose an election, emotions will boil up, people may not be happy, all manner of assumptions and speculations, but ultimately, I am of the view that we are in a good position. As to the issues that has come up, I think there are issues that even can be resolved, but obviously, it rests on party leadership to make such decisions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kwesi Kwarteng, former PRO of the Education Ministry, and also on tour with Dr. Bawumia and other executives of the NPP party. Now, we're also grateful for Dr. Asah-Asante's insights into this particular thank you tour. Thank you so much, Dr. Asah-Asante, for your time. Away from that, President John Mahama says more than half of the beneficiaries of the Ajumawura initiative will be drawn from marginalized and undeserved groups, including former illegal miners. In an interaction with Joy News, young entrepreneurs Tony Senyaya and Kafu Aja lauded the program and urged government to execute it just as on paper. Presidential Affairs correspondent Maxwell Agbagba reports.
It's all excitement here at the Prempeh Hall, where the launch of the Ajumawura initiative took place. Well, Sector Minister for Youth Development and Empowerment, George Opari Ado, says this initiative will provide jobs to 20,000 Ghanaians annually.
To announce several key initiatives. The launch of the 1 million coders program last 2 weeks, and today's unveiling of the Ajumawura program, aimed at driving economic transformation for our youth. Additionally, on Wednesday, His Excellency President Mahama will launch the National Apprenticeship Program in Tamale to provide essential vocational and technical training to the youth of Ghana. I would like to take this moment to thank His Excellency, not just by making promises, but also allocating resources to these vital programs in the 2025 budget.
President Mahama has also been speaking at this event. He says the Ajumawura initiative is not like others, which had a lot of pomp and pageantry, but did not deliver on what was promised. He says there's adequate financing for the project.
But let me point out that this program is not like others that were announced in the recent past with a lot of fanfare, but proved to be mirages without adequate funding to sustain them. Ajumawura is fully funded with adequate allocation. Ajumawura is fully funded with adequate allocation provided by the Ministry of Finance in the 2025 budget.
He says marginalized persons and people from underserved areas will be prioritized.
At least 60% of the beneficiaries will be drawn from women and girls, especially in male-dominated trades. Will be drawn from persons living with disability. Will be drawn from unemployed and underemployed youth. Will be drawn from out-of-school youth. Will be drawn from rural and vulnerable populations. Will be drawn from youth in conflict-affected areas. Would also be drawn from youth who were formerly engaged in illegal mining activities, popularly known as galamsey, and other marginalized and underserved groups. And so for youth who come from mining communities and were involved in galamsey, we want to shift them away from galamsey, so we'll prioritize them to be able to set up their own businesses.
We have also been speaking to some young entrepreneurs on what they make of this initiative. Tony Senaya, CEO of Horseman Shoes, and Kafui Aja have been speaking to us.
The initiatives are great on their own. It is the implementation that counts. Like on paper, it sounds great. So for me, my hope is that it will be implemented as it has been sold to us. So I have faith in Eric Eje and his team, Juan, that they will implement it according to the vision of the president.
I think this program, this initiative is a good thing because it's going to help startups, especially youth startups, to begin to start their programs with at least some minimum capital from government through coaching, through mentoring, and it will help their businesses to be sustainable and scalable.
To other stories now, Minister of Education is asking the University Teachers Association of Ghana to remain committed to the fight against galamsey despite the change in government. Speaking at the inauguration of the Governing Council of the University of Professional Studies, he commended the association for its efforts in tackling the menace and called for intensified advocacy against illegal mining.
I should particularly commend UTAC for the principled position you have taken against a national ill, which is galamsey. And don't let the change in government water down your desire and strength to ask that right be done and that government must be responsive to responding adequately and sufficiently to resolving that crisis in our country of galamsey.
The minister also emphasized the need for universities to produce graduates who are not only prepared for the job market, but also equipped to create their own employment opportunities in alignment of the president's policies.
It is President Mohammed's belief to build bridges between academia and the world of work, and to provide leaders who can drive Ghana's development agenda. And again, nationally, there are questions that are our universities producing men and women to meet the future needs of our country? And are they producing men and women who will respond to the immediate manpower needs of our country? Whilst government works towards a blueprint, it's important that you prepare graduates not just for the job market, but they create jobs, as I have said.
Legal expert Dr. David Ofosudote is casting doubts on the feasibility of the 24-hour policy amidst the country's power challenges, Speaking at Joy News, an amalgam of professional bodies speaker series, the senior partner at AB and David Africa, in his address titled Transforming Ghana's Economy, Time for a Mindset Revolution, argued that a country cannot industrialize with only 6,000 megawatts of power. Noel Karen Iyali has more on the following report.
The calls for a structural transformation and a complete reset of Ghana's economy has grown louder and more urgent in recent times, but amidst these calls is the critical question: where do we begin from and how? The Joy News, an amalgam of professional body speaker series, explored these questions in the latest episode under the theme Transforming Ghana's Economy, Time for a Mindset Revolution. Legal expert Dr. David Ofosu-Dottir, in his presentation, challenged government to fix the country's power challenges if they are serious about implementing a 24-hour economy.
Under this government, there are three key things that I have heard. One is reset, the reset agenda. The other one is the 24-hour economy. And the third one is the big push. And I have tried to look at how transformation can be driven by each of these. And I want to focus on the mindset component of this. And my recommendation to them is that I will expect under the big push that an organization like VRA should be looking at 20 megawatts of power or 20 gigawatts. Where does that come from? There are studies which shows that for this country to industrialize, we need a base load of 20,000 megawatts. One of the statements which incensed me a lot, and this is not the first time I'm talking about it in public, was a statement that was constantly made by some politicians in the past, that we have excess power. 6,000 megawatts of installed capacity cannot be excess power. Your inability to distribute the power does not make it excess power. A country cannot industrialize with 6,000 megawatts of power. Period. What is the next big agenda on the Akosombo Dam? And what is the next big agenda for VRA? And what is the next big agenda of the whole of the Akosombo itself, which has got several angles that can be used, from transportation to a growth corridor, to fluvial advantage, to hauling of mining including iron ore, to jetties, to a number of things, including even shipyards on the lake. You cannot deliver a 24-hour economy without power.
Dr. Ofosu-Dottir says Ghana needs supply-oriented policies to encourage local producers, as he laments the continuous importation of foreign goods, which could be locally produced, offers an avenue for corruption. Here's why.
We tend to prefer foreign goods. So even the things we produce, we like to import them. It actually takes me back to the campaign which was conducted in the Champon regime, where there was a conscious effort to encourage consumption of made in Ghana goods, especially made in Ghana, food produced in Ghana. Today, I know many Ghanaians who, if they are traveling, would like to take a tin of Milo from Ghana, or want to take pig milk as against other milk, because those days we were consciously encouraged to consume these which were then made in Ghana. And that's how come they became the goods that we prefer as against others. Some of those conscious efforts we need to do and move away from the mindset which enables us import yemwadie. I don't know whether there's an English equivalent of what yemwadie is. At the last time where there was a discussion on inflation I was following, grapes had contributed a significant part of our imports. Foreign rice. Now, there are times that for the public sector, even when the thing is being produced here, importation is a procurement opportunity. And that procurement opportunity provides corruption for them to get some amount of money. And as a result, they will nevertheless import, notwithstanding the fact that we could have saved the foreign exchange. So when we turn around to complain about the dollar to CD exchange rate, we forget that the mindset that is contributing to it is a mindset that requires us to be corrupt by procuring from outside and by consuming things we otherwise produce here.
Professor Godfred Bokping is an economist at the University of Ghana Business School.
Look, if you take Ghana since 1992 and you pick budget after budget and you see budgetary allocation to road stock, roads. It's huge on paper. But out there, it's not there. Come to think of it, just a couple of years ago when we heard in this country that a government had constructed more roads than any other government and all of that. But you go and check. If you look at the IMF's road quality index, which they measure through mean speed score, intercities, Ghana is not in the top 10. Ghana is not in the top 20. We are not in the top 30. In fact, we rank somewhere 36. Our mean speed score is just around 56 kilometers per hour, adjusted. Okay, so approximately 45% of economic activity is movement. It's movement of goods, services, persons, and the rest of them. So the basis for economic transformation, we don't have it. Because in this country, we have not been able to connect our cities. You just can't say, I'm going to Cape Coast and come back. That's going to take you hours.
Oh, yes. Now even with the road construction, it will take you forever.
Yes. Okay, it's going to. So we don't have the basis. Look, Europe, US, look at China and where they are investing, the efficiency. So we are not connecting the cities. So why are you talking about transformation? Look, you have to live in Accra to work in Accra. Why? I mean, it should be possible for somebody to live in Kumasi and come to work in Accra and go back, either by rail or even by road.
As Ghana searches for pathways to reset its economy, experts insist that beyond policies and promises, a shift in mindset and bold actions are critical. The call is clear. Transformation must start now, and it must start with us. Noella Kariniali for Joy News.
You're still watching Joy News. That's we'll take a break. We'll return with business.
Hello, good morning and welcome to the business segment on Joy News Desk with me, Pius Kojubaka. Banking consultant Dr. Richmond Tiahini is calling for an urgent renegotiation of Ghana's mining contracts, arguing the country has received only $6.7 billion worth of gold revenue from the total value of $50.03 billion between 2014 and 2023. Dr. Tiahini contends that the current arrangements heavily favor foreign interests at the expense of national development.
All that you hear, the IMF will come and tell us that, oh, the economy is growing. And they tell you it is only, the sad thing is that the service sector and the mining. And let me tell you today, from evidence that I have, between 2014 to 2023, we extracted 50.2 billion worth of gold. It will shock you to hear that it was only 6.7 billion that entered into the Bank of Ghana's account. In which country can this thing happen? And when Mrs. Sophia, the ladyship is talking about a Gorgisberian agreement, we seem to get worried about it. And you see people defending. Let me tell you, I've been to Botswana. Botswana used to have the same mining problems. 2020, they told Anglo-American DBS, you either up your game to 40% or pack and leave. Today, as I speak to you, Anglo-DBA is doing 40-60. And by 2030, it's 50-50. Chemu pay unto gold now. And we pamper this foreign investor. Instead of we pampering the private sector who will grow the economy, we pamper the foreign investors who will come in and say, FDI has grown up. FDI brings money, it goes back. So for me, you create a business environment, lower inflation, stable currency, cut the red tape, reduce corruption to the barest minimum. It is only in this country that corruption has become a big-time business. It's a big-time business because nobody is controlling anybody. So if you go to ministry, you go to a country, everybody is corrupt. Which country? And when corruption comes in, you hear people going to Attorney General, I want to address the underwriters. Go to Nigeria, EFCC, the economic financial crime. Try it and you see that you are not above the law. So I'm saying that there must be addressing these issues if we really to say that we are resetting the agenda for the private sector.
Chief Executive of PIVA Beverages, Frank Ejie-Mensah, has urged Ghanaians to patronize made-in-Ghana goods to boost job creation as a means of easing pressure on the city. At a health walk, he highlighted that products like PIVA Beverages offer both quality and value while improving the country's economy.
The health walk organized by PIVA Beverages saw participants walk from Ejie-Mensah to Peduase, where they had an aerobic session aimed at promoting health and wellness. The chief executive of PIVA Beverages, Mr. Frank Ejie-Mensah, used the occasion to call on Ghanaians to patronize made-in-Ghana goods to boost employment as a means of easing pressure on the city. He highlighted the benefits PIVA Beverages offer.
PIVA Beverages has come, and that has come to stay. PIVA Natural Mineral Water, we have the PIVA beverages, the cola, you have the orange, you have the cocktail, you have the tangy, and you have the grape. That I want to tell people all over the world that PIVA is a very good product, very low in sugar, that you can give it to your kids, you can drink yourself. And know that once you buy PIVA, this is a made in Ghana, purely made in Ghana product, owned by Ghanaians, 100% owned by Ghanaians. That let's patronize our own, because that's the only way we can help create jobs so that I can put less pressure on the city.
Also speaking at the event, the branch manager for PIVA Beverages, Courage Kodo, stressed the importance of maintaining a healthy lifestyle. He assured Ghanaians of the company's long-term commitment to quality and service.
Embarking on this walk, we are just trying to bridge the fact that good health matters, and good health is something that we should all take very seriously. Because if you have good health, you have good life. If you have good health, your life is actually motivated. The second most important is to let the whole Ghana understand that PIVA Beverages has come to stay, PIVA Beverages will stay, and PIVA Beverages will be there to serve you.
The walk attracted a lively crowd of participants, reflecting the growing public interest in health-conscious activities and support for local brands. Helen Nakai Aye's report, read to you.
That's it for business for now, but the good thing is that you can get more stories when you log on to myjoyonline.com/business. There you go. BOG revises end-year inflation target of 12%, insisting forecast is achievable. And of course, we also have Matilda Santiesiedu appointed BOG's second deputy governor. And I'm pretty sure Mamiesi will be excited about that as well.
Really excited for her, and I hope she makes the mark that will make all of us proud.
Certainly.
That's how we end this edition of News Desk. We'll meet again tomorrow.